All right, welcome. May the 6th, 2022, just one day before Canelo versus Demetrius Bivol in a fight where, well, if you want to see my thoughts on that, check out my previous videos. But today we're here to talk some Australian boxing. But this time, what we like to do is not drag our videos on. So sometimes they may be an hour if there's a lot to talk about or after a post-fight or whatever. But in this case, we're going to keep it about 30 minutes or so. So let me tell you what the topics are straight at the beginning before we jump into things. So Kambosos versus Haney is 30 days away, what the undercard is so far. Ramirez Briedis versus Opetaia for the IBF title, cruiserweight. That's going to be on July the 2nd. Leon Paro is going to be fighting someone. You know, we're going to talk about whether it's Jose Ramirez, Jose Zepeda, Jack Catterall, Teofimo Lopez for the soon-to-be fully vacated, one of the many vacated titles of undisputed 140-pound champion Josh Taylor. What's next for Ebony Bridges, what she's doing. Skye Nicolson, who fought last week on the women's card, one of the greatest women's fights of all time, Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. What's going on with Michael Zarafa after he stopped Isaac Hartman in 2 rounds just, a few weeks or so ago. Justice Haney, heavyweight prospect, is taking on his name is Joseph Goodall, right? Joseph Goodall.
That is correct, Joseph Goodall.
June the 15th. And then what's going on, of course, with the golden child, Tim Tszyu, who hopefully will be in California next week, sitting ringside for Jermell Charlo taking on Castano 2 for Undisputed. You know, so a lot to talk about here. Welcome to the show. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe. All the links to our social media are right down below in that description box as well, including, it's been down there for some time now, Big J on Twitter. So take your time out. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe. I apologize early. So Big J, we're a month away, 30 days. George Kambosos versus Devin Haney. You still sticking to your gun stoppage?
Yep, ninth round TKO.
All right, I mean, we've never seen Devin Haney drop, but we have seen him, get rocked by Jorge Linares. But me, I'm going with Devin Haney by decision, and I'm sticking to that. And by the way, it's looking like we're going to be at the fight. No promises yet, but we'll let you know sooner rather than later, once we get some news. And we're working on getting George Kambosos, and that was something I forgot to bring up before me and Big J actually started the video. We're working on getting Kambosos as well. So, of course, nonetheless, I'm going to be here for the press conference, fight week. That's going to be the next one. If they have a media workout, we're going to be here for that. We're going to be streaming the weigh-in. We're going to be covering the fight live because it is going to be a prime time card here in the States. That's confirmed. So it's going to be starting on regular ESPN at 9 p.m. In fact, let me take a jump cut here because there's a clip I want to pull up, and it's the ESPN boxing slate here in the United States. So take your time out, like the video, subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Barry Hall card, and he has called out Nikita Tszyu. So obviously he's trying to get after Nikita Tszyu before he gets any real momentum going.
Right, hold on, Big J. Hold on.
Stretch coming up because on May 21st it is Janibek Alimhanale against Danny Dignam for a title at 160 pounds. Then June 4th, it is the undisputed lightweight championship of the world from Melbourne, Australia. George Kambosos, the champ. Devin Haney, the American, headed down there. 9 o'clock on ESPN on Saturday night, June 4th in the States. A Sunday morning fight in Australia so that you, the fan, can see it in prime time on ESPN, not pay-per-view. All 4 lightweight belts on the line.
Yeah. All right, there we go. I got it. All right. So, apologies for the little cuts there, but I'll explain what's going on, a little bit later in the video, but we got to flow through things. So you got Kambosos versus Haney, Jason Moloney versus Aston Palicte, Lucas Browne versus Junior Fa, and Terry Nichols versus LaChan Higgins. So we're waiting to see if Andrew's going to be on the card. Jason Moloney's taking on Aston Palicte. If you didn't hear me explain it before, then he's 28-4-1 with 23 KOs, 31 years old. Notable fights against Kazuto Ioka for the vacant WBO title, in which he was stopped in 10. Jose Martinez and Donnie Nietes in a fight where I felt that he won on a Superfly card here in the States back in 2018. So as it stands right now, it is probably one of the toughest fights of Jason Moloney's career, especially if you've been following Palicte over the years. Like, he's a hard hitter. Lucas Browne has returned to take on the Junior Fa, and then a Terry Nicholas. Okay, finally, now explain to us who Terry Nicholas is, Big J.
Terry Nicholas is a super welterweight contender. He's only had 3 fights to his name, 2-1, and he called out. I think his last fight was on the Sonny Bill Barry Hall card. Very, very scrappy, like dirty fight. And I believe, from memory, and he called out Nikita Tszyu in his post-fight interview. Obviously, looking to cool Nikita Tszyu's jets before he even gets fuel in his tank. Mm-hmm. Obviously going after obviously wanting the Tszyu name on his resume. But he's only a newcomer to the boxing scene. So
yeah, so basically, it's not fully confirmed yet, but we're hoping to see Andrew Moloney on the card, and I'm guessing that would round out the pay-per-view over there on Main Event. So it would probably be Andrew Moloney versus, the pay-per-view, I'm guessing, over there in Australia would open up with Lucas Browne versus Junior Fa, Andrew Moloney versus somebody, Jason Moloney versus Aston Palicte, and then, of course, Haney versus Kambosos. But so far, we don't have any word on an opponent, right, for Andrew. That's what we're waiting for.
That's what we're waiting for, yes. I think they'll probably have a 5-fight card. Main Event likes to have a 5, maybe even 6.
Okay.
I guarantee that bottom fight between, what's their name, Kane Acton and
Yoel Angeloni.
Yeah, that'll probably definitely be a Fox Sports. That'll be a prelim fight.
Okay.
I have no idea who those two blokes are. So yeah, I think that'll probably be a Fox Sports prelim fight. The others, especially if Andrew gets on there, will most likely be on the 5, not 6 fight Main Event card, because with the history of Main Event, they put on at least 5, sometimes even 6 fights on a card. So, But then again, Top Rank will probably have final say over what's going on. So
yeah, so we got this interview here. It's about 3 minutes long. We're only going to play the audio with respect to copyright. But he sat down with ESPN's Mark Kriegel. The whole ESPN team is going to be there in Australia covering the fight, by the way. And once again, of course, we're going to be here covering the fight as well, pretty much the whole entire fight week, and hoping to be there as media ourselves. So far, fingers crossed, everything's looking good. But, I just don't, I like George Kambosos. He proved me wrong, against Teofimo Lopez. But we did talk about how, he had to get Teo's respect early if he had a chance to win, and he did that. Devin Haney, in my opinion, I see Devin Haney as a better boxer than Teofimo Lopez. The issue I have with Devin Haney is there is some question marks around his power. And to be honest, frankly, he was supposed to stop and put a boot in the ass of Gamboa. He was supposed to definitely stop and knock out. Of all the big fights that Jorge Linares has had, Devin Haney was the only one that didn't stop him. And not only that, he ended up getting rocked. And then Jorge Linares, just one fight, I covered it, or maybe 2 fights later, if that, gets knocked out over in Russia by a guy who Devin Haney beat. So it's not really a good look right there. And Jojo Diaz is the fight he was also supposed to really, really shine. So I can understand, how, like George Kambosos is looked at, as the favorite. Is that the case? Is he looked at as the favorite? Do you know?
Fuck no. He's bloody Devin Haney's paying. This is Australian sports bet website. Devin Haney's $1.54. George is like $2.46.
Mm-hmm.
So how, in all things are sacred, is George the underdog is beyond me. So
well,
okay. Devin Haney's the well more established champion, but seriously,
yeah. Here, let's go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just confused how people think that George can be the underdog, considering that what he did to Lopez, and but anyway,
Yeah.
the confusion doesn't stop.
All right, I'm gonna play this interview here, and then we'll be talking about a lot of Haney versus Kambosos over the next 29 days or so. So trust me, we're gonna make sure you hear it. But let's listen to this interview that Devin Haney did just this last weekend at Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Listen, for a young fighter, you're 27-0. You've been a pro for what, 7-8 years already?
Yeah.
You have some seasoning, but you're going over to Australia. It's going to be a big stadium. Are you ready for that?
I'm so ready. This is something that I've always dreamed of. I never thought that it would be happening like this, but just to be fighting for Undisputed is a dream come true of mine. So that's why when it was an option for me to go over there, I didn't say I'll take it one time. I said I'll take it twice.
What's the one thing you can't do in a place like that, in a spot like this?
I mean, at the end of the day, I got to go in there and be the best Devin Haney I could possibly be, and try my best to not make the fight as any close as possible. I got to go in there and pitch a shutout, but I'm gonna just go in there and beat me and win by any means necessary.
I know you and your dad really have a real analytical bent to how you look at fighters and fights. What's the best thing that George Kambosos does?
I feel like George Kambosos is he's very aggressive. He comes in shape. He comes to fight each and every time. So he's just a guy that you cannot take lightly. He may not have the best skill set, but he's determined, and a determined fighter can be dangerous on any given night.
He's going to be more determined, more dangerous over there. Do you worry about judging going over there?
No, because I trust my team. I trust my dad, Top Rank Lou DiBella. I know that it's going to be neutral judging, not judging for me, not judges for him. We don't want it that way. We just want neutral judging.
Where is Kambosos weakest? Where is he vulnerable?
That's for me to show on fight night.
Come on.
That's for me to show on fight night. We will use his best things against him, and I'm gonna handicap him. He does good things, but I'm gonna handicap him of his best attributes, and the things that he does bad, I will use against him.
What's the fight that has taught you the most?
I feel like all of them have taught me a little bit here and there to have me ready for this big moment, this big stage, and it will show on fight night. I want to show all my experience, everything that it took to get to this point. I want to show the world.
Who's the best young fighter in the game?
Me, by far.
Why?
Just because everything that I bring to the table, skills, chin, heart, determination, the ring IQ that I bring is just something different, and that's why it's finally my time to finally unify the division. This is the Super Bowl of the lightweight division, and I'm happy to be fighting in it. And last Super Bowl they didn't want to see the Cincinnati in the Super Bowl, but sometimes it just happens like that, and they didn't expect to see me here, but I'm here, and I'm looking to take over.
We're going to enjoy watching it, okay?
I can't wait.
Thank you, champ. Bernardo, back to you.
One thing you can say about him is he's well spoken. I had a chance to interview him about 3-4 years ago in Philly. I forgot exactly what event. I don't even know if it was I'm pretty sure it was in Philly. But very well spoken dude. Very confident. But yeah, he's right. For the 135-pound division, this is the Super Bowl for all the belts. And frankly, he wasn't supposed to be here. And from my understanding, he's basically signed with 2 promoters just to get the fight. Because, he keeps giving shout out to Lou DiBella, and, Lou DiBella is the promoter of this fight. It's funny how that works.
Well, it's funny how anything works, but I'm not convinced. I don't feel any clarity or confidence in that voice. But anyway, I'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So he didn't sound very convincing to me, but that's just my opinion.
Well,
he's very well spoken, but he didn't.
He's in the deep end.
When George speaks. Yeah, he's in the deep end now. When George speaks, you can see that, everything he says, he means.
That is true.
I'm not feeling it from Haney.
George says some cold shit. Like, you really feel it when he said it, because he told Tio exactly what he was going to do. Like, that final press conference was something else.
Well, every press conference, even the one they did for Triller, George had it all over him from the get-go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I can say George is definitely the most confident fighter, and the man has been in the gym. You know, how long before we move on? Like he didn't really take no time off. Like he said he was going to be. I mean, yeah, he's been with his family and everything, but for the most part, that dude is always in the gym.
yep. Well, he bought and built a new one in his little wherever he is in Sydney.
Okay,
And that's
there
all
you
he
go.
does.
That's perfect.
That's all he does is train. So, well,
All
you
right.
want to be the best, you have to put in the best work. So,
Yeah. So, all right, we're going to be doing a lot of Haney versus Kambosos, Kambosos versus Haney content over the next several weeks. And remember, at the end of the month, the week before this fight, you're going to have Tank Davis versus Rolly Romero. And that winner, if it's Tank Davis, is definitely targeting, a shot at Undisputed sometime in 2023, because as it stands right now, it's a 2-fight deal. And both of these guys are booked up. And I think it's confirmed that the rematch would happen in Australia too, right?
that is correct. From everything we've been hearing, both fights will happen in Australia.
Yeah, so crazy. All right, so moving on. The next big, championship fight for Australia is coming up on, what is it, July the 2nd against Miras
July
Briedis.
the 2nd.
Against Miras
Yep.
Briedis, 28-1 with 20 KOs, World Boxing Super Series winner, two-time world champion. His only loss is against Alexander Usyk in the first World Boxing Super Series tournament. I covered the entire tournament. Crazy. I never did something like that before. And round number 2. And season number 2. So I've covered when he won the World Boxing Super Series both times. Now, to go through his resume, and it is phenomenal. Manuel Char, that was at heavyweight. Marco Huck, Mike Perez, Alexander Usyk, Krzysztof Glowacki, Junior Dortigos. That for cruiserweights, a phenomenal resume. And Jai Opetaia, what do we know about him? I don't really know enough, but from what I've seen, he's not in Briedis' league. Now, I don't like to count fighters out. I'm not saying he doesn't have a chance, but from what I've seen so far, I'm not confident. How do you feel about him?
No.
And what's his following like over there in Australia? Like, does he have some people
Very
behind
good
him?
in Brisbane. DNL fighter, a Dean Lonergan fighter, a good solid following in Brisbane. Obviously, he's a Brisbane boy with obviously Tasman Fighters, that Brisbane-based promotion. I'm like you. I don't see, unless Briedis has a completely off night, I don't see Jai winning this. I see Briedis putting a boot in his ass.
Yeah, he's got to show us something. This is one of those fights where, we don't know the fighter until you really step up to a challenge like this. And this is a big fight for him to be going in against, for his first major challenge. And to be honest, looking at his resume, I don't know how he's become a mandatory, but nonetheless,
Yeah, I asked the same question. How's he? He's never fought anyone overseas. He's never fought overseas. I think he's only ever fought 1 or 2 Kiwis, and they don't really count as overseas fighters. So I don't think he's ever fought David Light, who was another contender around that weight. How he became mandatory is beyond me. But he's like Tim Tszyu. He's never beaten anyone. Well, Tim Tszyu has now, but he's never beaten anyone ranked with any sanctioning body in the top 15 from anybody.
Yeah,
so how the hell is he number 1 in the IBF?
Yeah, and now he's getting the title shot. So you have
He's going from domestic. Yeah, he's going from domestic level Australian fighters, 1 or 2 Kiwis, to the world champion who's put a boot in pretty much everyone's ass except Usyk.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So here's the champion.
I don't see it. I don't see it going well. I don't see it going well.
I don't either. So here's the champions. Makabu, WBC champion. He just fought Tabisu Machunu about 3 or so months. I believe it was in January of this year.
I reckon Jai could get him just quietly. I reckon Jai could get him. Not confident about Briedis, but I reckon Jai could get that guy.
Yeah. Makabu, I don't really rate him too highly. For those who don't know, Canelo's been targeting Makabu as a potential fight at a cruiserweight one day in the future. Arslan Goulamirian is going to be returning soon. I don't know the exact news on him, but him and Riyad Berhi are supposed to be unifying those WBA titles. Lawrence O'Colly right now is my favorite cruiserweight fighter. He's a matchroom fighter targeting the winner of Opetaia versus Briedis. He's just basically trying to unify any way that he can. And
that's right.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, we forgot about Briedis acting like a dickhead at that bloody Lawrence O'Carley fight with the Mario suit. We've got all about that.
Yeah. He's trying to get a Jake Paul fight.
Oh,
And-
yeah, that's right. Oh, God.
And it's just
bloody
not,
hell.
it's to the point where I'm going to go ahead and say it. I hope you have the kids in the bed, but to the point where he just been whoring himself out, and it's been really distasteful to a boxing fan like myself. Like getting tattoos and, the Mario thing. Like, you're supposed to be there talking about O'Carley, and you're coming in calling out a Jake Paul, like, just as fucking Mario. Like, bro.
I got more chance of fighting Jake Paul than he does.
Yeah, for real. And I don't even think the sanctioning body would allow it to be, somebody of his status. Because they can stop those fights. I've seen it happen before when Golovkin, they wouldn't allow Golovkin to fight Munguia because Munguia was too young. Fans are still pissed off about that.
But still, reference that last video, Jake Paul wants to fight Sonny Bill. I'd pay to see that. That'd be good.
Yeah. We did a whole video on that, and that's something that Eddie Hearn is seemingly trying to put together. But, we already talked about it. Sonny Bill is about 240 pounds, and Jake Paul fights at cruiserweight, weighs in at about 195, So, Sonny Bill will have to drop a whole lot of weight, and we just don't see that happening.
Fuck no.
But
anyway, back on topic, Jai Opetaia, of course, he's in the ring, so he's got a chance, but, punch his chances. But, if Briedis has a really off night, which he doesn't because he's just a solid pro, I don't see Jai winning. I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy to eat a big piece of humble pie, and people say I'm full of shit, but I just don't see it happening.
All right, so any news on the network? Would that be main event?
Yep, main event card. Because initially it was going to be May 11th, but then Jai got his rib injury, and now the Paul Gallen, Nikita Zuho, Galasso card took its place. So yes, it will be on main event.
Okay, so have you guys ever had this many pay-per-views?
Oh shit, yeah. When Monday and Green days, you were having 8. I think we had 8 to 10 1 year. It was So
okay, gotcha.
Not this many title shots. I have to look at history, but I haven't seen this many title shots in 1 year for Aussies.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we've had 3 already. Have we? 3? Ebony, Shakira, not Shakira, bloody Shanika.
Mm-hmm.
George, was there another? No, that's 3. Jai, and possibly Liam if he has his by the end of the year. So that's 5.
Yeah, we're talking about Liam now, 22 with 13 KOs, 26 years old. He signed with Matchroom the end of 2021. This press release came out December the 28th, to be exact. So he is highly ranked by all of the sanctioning bodies and been ordered by the WBO to fight a mandatory. Do you know if he was ordered to fight Jose Ramirez or like, I don't remember.
No, I don't believe. I know that it's mandatory, but I don't believe that
it was an order yet. Okay.
Yes, I don't believe the opponent has been ordered by the WBO as yet. There's options, as we discussed. There's Catterall, there's Jose Ramirez, which is looking like the front runner, and there's also Teofimo Lopez if he wants to throw his hat into that ring.
Yeah, so, because if he fights Jose Ramirez is a top rank fighter, former champion who had lost to, Josh Taylor, in Undisputed. And if it goes to purse
question.
Mm-hmm.
What belts did Jose Ramirez have when he fought Taylor? WBC, WBO?
Yes. He had the WBC, WBO.
It'll most likely be Ramirez so he can get his title back.
Yeah.
Because even though, this is the politics of the WBA. Like, Lopez has moved up, and doesn't that mean that he becomes the mandatory straight away? I mean, they got that stupid bloody rule.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think that's, because he had lost his title.
Okay, that's right. A current champion if they move up.
Yeah, current champion if they move up, they become automatic mandatory.
Okay, yeah. So same if Taylor goes to 147, he'll automatically get Crawford. So.
Yeah, and there were some issues where Jack Catterall, the rankings have been updated before, but when Teal first moved up, he was ranked over Jack Catterall, and Jack Catterall and his team was pissed. But now the rankings are updated. You have Paro number 1, Ramirez number 2, Catterall number 3, Lopez number 4. Now how it works is they'll say Liam Paro, okay, you're number one. You know, we're going to order you to fight Jose Ramirez. If Ramirez turns it down, they say, okay, who's next? Let's see Jack Catterall. And then, you know, they'll try to go Lopez. But here's the Jose Ramirez factor. He can also fight for the vacant against Jose Cepeda. And from my understanding, that would be rematch. Let me check to be sure. He can also fight him for a vacant WBC title. And therefore, you could possibly have Paro versus Catterall being ordered, and can possibly go, or even Teofimo and go to a purse bid. But you would think that Catterall would want to fight, you know, for the title because of what had happened. Basically, a lot of fans feeling he got, you know, the short end or robbery loss to Josh Taylor.
I think it's going to be between either Ramirez or Catterall, because considering Ramirez is a top-ranked fighter,
yes,
they have a strong affiliation with the WBA, so they're most likely to be that way. So,
yeah. All right.
So it's definitely going to be Ramirez or Catterall. But they're talking about having the fight in Townsville, which, as much as I'd love to see that, I don't see that happening.
Nah, it'll probably be over here in the States somewhere. It ain't, you know, it ain't happening, because then, you know, remember, Eddie Hearn is his promoter. So, you know, that fight's happening over here in the States. And it's going to be interesting to see if it would have to go to a purse bid or if Top Rank and Eddie will be able to get something done. They work together, but sometimes some of their fights do go to purse bid. For example, when Mick Conlon fought Lee Wood, Mick Conlon, top ranked fighter, and Lee Wood, Matchroom, but Matchroom had won the purse bid, so it was like, all right, send them over there. So they, you know, these are two promoters that are not known to stop fights, especially when there's a highly valuable championship and political leverage in the division involved. So we're going to be waiting on some news for that. We should be hearing something soon. And moving on, what's going on with Ebony Bridges? We're going to talk about some women next.
Back in Sydney, just hanging around the joint, and probably going to be hanging around for the next couple of months until Leeds comes to Australia in July. They have 3 games, one in Sydney, one in Perth, one in Brisbane, and then she'll probably start gearing up for her next fight, or her first title defense, which I dare say will be I'm tipping Leeds, because looks like she's pretty much moved there. So
yeah, she's pretty much, you know, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. You know, it pretty much looks like she kind of turned her back on Australia a little bit. She doesn't really, you know, put a lot into it as, you know, she does, like, you know, basically, you know, like repping Leeds. She adopted Leeds.
Well, she does all these meet and greets and all that in England. Where's all the meet and greets when she got home? I don't see anything. So,
yeah, because one day she's going to have to come back home, you know.
Well, she's currently back in Sydney now.
I'm talking about like the fight.
Oh, yeah, well, let's hope so. But, so, well, you know, I mean, like, the weighing thing doesn't interest us.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't speak on the whole, you know, behalf of the Australian boxing fans, but most of us do not give a rat's ass what she wears at the weigh. We couldn't care less.
Yeah.
We're only interested in how she throws her hands. So, I don't know. I mean, she started that lingerie thing in Australia, but it never really took off until she went overseas.
Yeah. Who do we say if she returns, she's going to fight the WBC girl, Unilef Luna, right? That's who I believe it was. Yeah,
WBC girl, or most likely Melissa Parker. The IBO
and then
girl.
You'll have Jamie Mitchell, who and Shannon Courtney are going to be having a rematch, a contractually obligated rematch. I'm pretty sure that's probably going to be next. And then we can see a big undisputed fight between hopefully Ebony Bridges and Shannon Courtney rematch, or likely it'll be Jamie Mitchell, in my opinion. Sometime I'm going to guess, you know, around, you know, maybe before this time next year.
Yeah, and there's also the WBO girl, the Danish girl.
Oh yeah, Dina Thorsland.
Dina Thorsland, yep, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So there's fights available for her, you know, when she does come back, and you can see a path to undisputed sometime in 2023 for Jamie Mitchell, Unilef Luna, if I'm mispronouncing her name correct, apologies. Ebony Bridges and Jamie Mitchell, Shannon Courtney. Like there's definitely a path there.
Definitely.
All right. Next, Skye Nicolson. She fought last week on the undercard of Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. That had to be a great experience for her to be a part of that history, or her story, as they like to call it. She's 3-0 with 0 KOs. She did drop the girl in round number 60, Shaniqua Davis. Before that, she fought poor old Beck Conley. Just beat her up for 6 rounds. But still, I would have liked to have seen a stoppage. And then Jessica Juarez. That seems to be the early criticism of Skye Nicolson right now, because let's face it, there's always going to be some criticism. That seems to be the early criticism from fans that were viewing the fight on social media, is they want her to pick it up a little bit. It seems like she has the ability to go out there and stop these girls, but she just doesn't. She kind of holds back.
And she carries her hands dangerously low. I don't like that. She starts getting into girls who are a bit quicker, she's going to get smacked. So
she's listed at 5'5". She's listed at 5'5", but she looks a lot taller. She looked like she seems bigger than a lot of these girls.
Yeah, but then again, the featherweights, they're only tiny. They're only 126 pounds, so they're not exactly. They're not going to be 6 foot tall. So
yeah. By the way, Amanda Serrano is also the #1 champion in that division.
That's right.
So that's something to work towards. I mean, she ain't going to see her no time soon. It'd be maybe about 3-4 years. If that was to ever happen, if Serrano's still around.
That's exactly right. I mean, what's Serrano? 33 years old.
Yeah, but these women, they fight till they in their 40s and shit, so, but still, but it wouldn't be, she wouldn't still be seeing her, no time soon. It would be some years.
Nah, definitely not.
So, just to give her a quick shout now, Michael Zarafa, you were saying that possibility he's trying to return in August or September?
Yeah, I saw a video the other day, possibly August, September, against the Brazilian guy, Falco Aquivo, is that his first name?
Yeah, Esquiva Falco.
Aquiva Falco, yeah. Looking for August, September. There have been reports that, and they said in the video that Sam LeBrun is going to have a sit down with Bob Arum and discuss the details of that fight. Personally, I think it's going to be on the Haney Kambosos rematch, because that's going to happen in Australia. Just throw that on the undercard. Boom, the only thing better than one title fight is 2. That's the way I see it happening. I think it's going to be on the Kambosos Haney rematch.
Yeah, so
probably
go ahead.
Yeah, probably in August, September, maybe October.
Yeah, so my understanding is, and Isaac Hardman had talked about it, is that if Canelo beats Bivol tomorrow, this weekend, Canelo will fight Golovkin at 168 in September. Golovkin would have to vacate that IBF title, or would vacate the IBF title, and you would have Falco versus Zarafa on the undercard of the rematch between Kambosos Haney. So yeah, basically 2 title fights. So there you go. You have the co-feature right there.
Pretty much.
All right. On to before we talk about Tim Tszyu, Charlo, Castano 2 to wrap up the video. Justice Hooney versus Joseph Goodall. Now this is Justice Hooney's first fight back since Gallon, and basically he will be on a year layoff. He fought Gallon June 16th of last year, and this fight's taking place June the 15th.
Correct.
So can you run down to the viewers what happened with him? Again, it's a bizarre story, sad, but at the same time, his team, kind of did it to themselves.
They did. So basically, long story short, Justice Hooney was already selected to go to the Olympics around this time last year. Around this time last year, he fought a guy called Christian Soy, 10-round heavyweight fight, and he went into that fight with an injured hand, got through it without any dramas. I think it was around this time last year.
Yeah, May 26th.
Yeah,
less than a month before he fought Gallon. 3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks after that, he fought Gallon, hurt his hand in the first round, went through the 10-round, knocked Paul Gallon out at the expense of busting his right hand and stuffing his left thumb problems, right boxer's knuckle in his right hand, had to go and have surgery, was ruled out of the Olympics, didn't go to the Olympics, and will pretty much go down as one of the biggest fuck-ups in Australian boxing history. And pretty much now he's on his road back to redemption. He's dropped the Australian title, which Paul Gallon's fighting for on May 11th, to fight, I think, 2 or 3 regional belts. I think there's an IBF, WBO regional belt in there against Joseph Goodall, who these guys used to spar. They've had hundreds of sparring sessions together. The old, friend become foe, Bizzo. Joseph Goodall's got, 9-0? I think he appeared on the
8-0-1 with 7 KOs.
8-0-1. His last fight, 1 round stoppage of some bloke on the Tim Tszyu Terrell Goucher dark match undercard.
Yep.
So yeah, that's pretty much. But that fight was supposed to happen a couple of months ago, but Justice got COVID like twice, and something else happened. So,
all right.
So
we'll be following that, and that's going to be on June 15th. Why not? I'll be covering it. We'll be covering it. That's what we do here. Next, you got Tim Tszyu. Hopefully, he'll be ringside next week at the undisputed fight between Jermell Charlo versus Brian Castano 2 that is taking place in, I forgot that arena. I believe it's formerly I believe it's Dignity Health Park. Let me check to be sure. A card that we're going to be providing full coverage for next week. Yep, Dignity Health Sports Park used to be the StubHub Center or the Home Depot Center over there in Carson, California. The undercard is going to be Ennis versus Custio Clayton and Kevin Gonzalez versus Emanuel Nieves. Now you have Tim Tszyu, who's the WBO mandatory, defeating Terrell Goucher back in March, just a little bit over a month ago. He was dropped. You also had Tony Harrison a week later defeat Sergio Garcia. Erickson Lubin lost to Sebastian Fundora in a WBC interim title fight. And we've talked about it many times. Here, I'm going to break it down as quickly as I can for you to tell you where we are. Okay, so you have Charlo Castano, winner, next week, has to fight Bakhram Murtazaliev or move up. The next mandatory would be after Charlo Castano Murtazaliev would be Tim Tszyu. In the meantime, Tim Tszyu needs a fight, maybe 2, before his time comes. So why not Tony Harrison? Or if he really wants to try to go for an actual title and get even closer to a title shot, then maybe Sebastian Fundora. Now, the likelihood of him fighting Murtazaliev, that's pretty much out of the picture. That would make no sense. Murtazaliev has now taken 3 step-aside deals to fight on the undercards of Charlo fights, just basically holding on to his title shot for a promotional company that's pretty much on their way out, main event here in the States, led by Kathy Duva. So, in your opinion, who should Tim Tszyu fight next?
I think, we've discussed it many, many times. I think Tony Harrison is the best option. But then again, I mean, Sebastian Fundora, I've been entertaining this fight for a very long time, ever since Sebastian Fundora beat Daniel Lewis, who's another Australian fighter that was on the undercard to Fury Wilder 2. And pretty much Sebastian Fundora put Daniel Lewis, who beat Tim Tszyu back in the amateurs, into retirement. So there's a little bit of a backstory there for that fight. And Daniel Lewis hasn't fought since.
Yeah, and I think that Fundora will be a better fight. And looking at the rankings, maybe get him closer to a title shot, even though he may be an email champion. So say, for example, right? Say, okay, so if he says, okay, you know what? I'm going to fight Fundora. That'll be for the WBC interim title. If Charlo beats Castano and Charlo says, you know what? I'm done. I'm moving up. He'll be elevated to champion.
Correct.
Fighting Tony Harrison, I think that, that fight will be good. It can headline his own event, but it's not for anything. That's true. And he would be risking his WBO shot. So right now, true. Where the division is, it's between Harrison, Tim Tszyu, and Sebastian Fundora. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where they're going to go, because Tony Harrison, remember, Tim Tszyu is the outside guy. And Tony Harrison and both Fundora are PBC. So, Tony Harrison can possibly get the shot at Fundora next for that interim title.
That's
but
correct,
in the meantime, Tim Tszyu needs a fight. And right now, Terrell Goucher, okay, but we want to see him fight somebody of note.
I think he should fight Patrick Teixeira, personally. I've always said he should fight Kabanov, but Kabanov's obviously something's going on with him.
Yeah.
But Patrick Teixeira would be a good, solid I mean, Liam Smith just come off a victory.
Yeah, that would be a great fight. If they can get Liam Smith, but I don't think they would risk that though. You know, something tells me they wouldn't do that.
Look, I saw Liam Smith, you know, and I mean, Liam Smith looks every bit of his age.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing, he looks old. I mean, not just his hair, but, you know, the muscles,
Yeah.
where they just look like, you know, he's 33, but he looks like he's 40. So
Yeah,
I
he's got a
don't
lot of-
consider Liam Smith a great threat anymore, because he beat someone that was already shot to shit. Wasn't he a blown up 147?
Yes, he
Jesse
is.
Vargas?
Yes, Jesse Vargas is.
Yeah, well,
That is a fact.
he defeated a blown up shot to shit 147er, and yeah, I don't think I think Liam Smith is at the arse end of his career, to be honest with you. You know, that's a bit harsh, but
I can agree with that. I can agree, and he's been through a lot. He's been through some wars, you know, like some
Yeah, as
wars,
he said-
and he's taken some
as he
beatings.
said in his own, as he said in his own thing before the fight, if he loses once more, he's done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he is one loss away from retirement, and I think that at this stage, Liam Smith would be pretty good pickings for Tim Tszyu.
Yeah,
I mean,
we don't have any confirmation yet, but it seems that Showtime here in the States may have a multi-fight option with Tim Tszyu. You know, like invested in him. After all, they just gave him his own event, so that don't come free. So I'm wondering, you know, if there's a high probability of his next fight being here in the States as well. You know,
most likely. Yeah, I
because
think
there's no
his
point going
days
back to
of
Oz
fighting-
right now.
Sorry?
There's no point, you know, going back to fight in Australia right now where, you know, he's inching toward a title shot.
No, there's another reason why it's not a good idea to fight here is that there's too much going on here. We've got George, we've got Mick, we've got Paul Gallen and his brother, and he doesn't need to fight here anymore.
Yeah.
He needs to fight overseas because, you know, his brother's going to build his reputation. George is going to have his massive fights. To be honest, there really is no room for Tim Tszyu in Australia at the moment.
Yeah.
So he needs to go overseas and do other stuff.
You know, and he wants to become, you know, like a global star. Like I said, you know, that doesn't happen where you have an Australian fighter who's never headlined over here or even fought over here in the States headline a Showtime boxing event. That does not happen. You know, so I can expect that, you know, like they got something cooking, and hopefully this week coming up we'll be able to hear something about, you know, like the next plans. But Charlo Castano too, who do you have winning?
Oh, look, the heart says it's 50-50, but I think Charlo will come back stronger than what I think. Watching that fight again, Charlo was like put his foot off the gas. He wasn't the best Charlo, if that makes sense. I mean, Castano's a hell of a fighter, but I think Charlo at his best will be too strong for Castano.
I do too.
Even though,
go ahead.
Even though most people say that, you know, style-wise for Tim Tszyu, Charlo would be a better fighter. I'm like, oh shit, Charlo would knock the fuck out of Tim Tszyu, and Castano would just break him down and outwork him. But yeah, I think Charlo at his best, Charlo will get the nod.
Yeah,
but I'm happy. It doesn't matter who wins because I'll be happy either way. It makes no difference.
Yeah, I think that Charlo has the better overall boxing skill set, you know, and he is the bigger fighter, and he's got to stay off the ropes. You know, I like to look at, okay, who has the better chance of adjusting and not making, you know, the same mistakes in the rematch. For example, perfect example, I think that as long as Katie Taylor in the rematch stays off of the ropes and out of the corner, you know, she can beat Amanda Serrano again in the rematch. And we've seen Charlo get better in a rematch. So, for example, look what happened with the second Tony Harrison fight. You know, stop.
And Charlo's more powerful than Castano.
Yeah, he has a, you know, Charlo does have a high ring IQ, you know, and he is the better, in my opinion, of the brothers. So I think that, you know, he's going to get, you know, a decision. You know, he may even drop Castano, and it's not the realm of possibility that Charlo can probably stop him. But definitely Castano is tough, you know, but I think that Charlo is going to win. And the only thing is, and I tried to get a question out of him. I had the last question on the Zoom call for Charlo Castano. And at the very end, somebody asked something and I forgot. And, you know, the fighters just went off the rails. So I didn't get to get my question in. But my question was going to be, you know, we haven't heard about what Charlo wants to do. You know, Like how many fights does he see himself, you know, at 154 pounds? Because that right there would answer a lot of questions, you know, for us, you know, to know how long he would be at that division. And, you know, I didn't get to answer the question. So hopefully we get some answers on that during fight week, because if he wins against Castano and he says, no, I'm going to rule 154 pounds, you know how he can get, you know, I'm going to beat everybody up here, and he'll start talking his shit. That's what I want to hear, is what he's going to do. And how I'm feeling at the weight.
Yeah, well, if his brother doesn't go anywhere, there's no point going to 160.
Exactly, yeah. And it looks like his brother's trying to hang on to that 160 for whatever reason. Because also,
that's right.
Because also the winner of, and it's coming, it's going to be this year, the winner of Spence versus Crawford, both of them are like, we're going to 154. So they'll be at 154 next year. So it can be, you know, you know, like, so it's, I'm interested in what Charlo wants to do.
If Spence and Crawford come, there's a lot bigger fights for Charlo if he stays where he is.
Correct. That's why I think he would stay.
Because there's fuck all, let's be honest, there's fuck all for him at 160.
And his brother's finding out the hard way.
His brother hasn't fought anyone since he got that belt. He ain't going to get Triple G. And what's going on with the WBO belt? Isn't Demetrius Andrade fighting some bloke?
No, that belt is vacated. He's fighting the clip I showed earlier. They announced the fight for that. Where they announced the ESPN schedule. It's going to be Zinzabek, Alan Canoli taking on Danny Dignam. So it's shit. It's nothing at 160 pounds. Nothing for Charlo to go up here to find big fights. The money's at 154.
Yeah, exactly. The money, especially when Spence and Crawford come
exactly.
up.
Either or. That's a pay-per-view fight for Charlo and Castano. You know, so
exactly.
Yeah, so well, we went a little longer than we expected, but we will be here next week talking Charlo Castano and what's going on with Tim Tszyu. Also, we have this Wednesday coming up, the Paul Gallen card, which we did a whole video on, so you can go check that out. And in fact, I'll link that at the top of the comments, you know, to hear our thoughts on that. That's a whole different saga itself. But closing thoughts?
Oh, you know, just looking forward to the George fight, obviously. Looking forward to everything. I think the dark horse the surprise might be what goes on with Liam Paro. I mean, if they can get that fight in Townsville, fuck yeah, no worries. I'll definitely be going to that. But yeah, I think there's a lot of things bubbling in Australian boxing, and if we can get, you know, if Jai can pull off the miracle and get up, there's 4 world champions. If Liam can get a title shot by the end of the year, there's 5. And Australian boxing will never look better, because I don't think we've ever had 5 world champions at one time. Yeah,
you guys got some, you know, I'm noticing, because I don't remember, you know, when I was covering Mundine, like these cards, like it being this many, like, meaningful, you know, fights for Australian boxers.
Well, the thing is that they're more coverage now. If you go back and look during the Mundine Green era, you also had Danny Gill floating around, who hands down has got the best international resume of any Australian boxer, and I dare anyone to argue any different with that. Like, he was doing things that no one knew about. He went to Germany twice. He fought Triple G. Well, we all know about the Triple G fight. He fought Cotto. You know, he did things that no one else was doing, and he got no notoriety because everyone was worried about what Chocolate Green were up to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that this period now of Australian boxing, we've never had any different. I mean, we've got 3 champions and 2 of them women. Yeah. So, and these women are actually being recognised. Because if you go back 10 years, we had world champions. Ever heard of a lady called Erin McGow? I guarantee you haven't.
Who?
Erin McGow was a WBO lightweight champion 10 years ago. No one's ever heard of her.
Yeah.
So there's it's now that the Australian just the fighters are getting the notoriety that they finally deserve. We can actually get out there and say, well, you know, 2 champions, 2 of them are women. Things are going great, guns. So
yeah,
that's my final thought. So
all right, well, we will be seeing you guys next week. Take your time out. Please like the video. It really does help us get back up in the YouTube algorithms. Numbers are getting back steady again before my unjust shadow ban. But nonetheless, thanks for watching, and see you guys again soon. Please subscribe.